Hi, I'm Ryan. Welcome back to the garage. So last week I had an attempt at routing the exhaust, and many of you gave me exactly the same feedback. Too close to my seat, too close to my leg, probably not achievable or practical. Now I did intend to wrap the exhaust, I did intend to put some shields on the exhaust, but I've listened to your feedback, and before we get into other things I'm going to do this week, this is now my revised routing. So, very similar to the way it was before. It's actually the same piece of cardboard, but whilst aesthetically I'd like it to tuck between and behind this support, I think realistically it needs to just be hung on the side here, away from the seat, away from my backside. I've still got the challenge of this section here where my leg is clearly going to run, but actually my foot's going to be here, so it's naturally inwards slightly, and I can certainly put a shield on the outside of this, which is exactly the same as I do on many other bikes. I was shown an example of somebody who custom built an exhaust in the style of a CL500, which the twin pipes at the front wrap around the side and then just run straight flat out the back here. Not the style I'm after, but it demonstrated that the pipe running across here with a shield is a perfectly acceptable answer. So I think that's my current proposed thought. Okay, I can't move this forward other than planning, and last week I did a load of shopping of items I needed, which didn't entirely go to plan. So last week I drew up a shopping list which included the 4 nuts I needed to secure the sprocket onto the wheel. These arrived and I think they're correct, they look right, so I'm going to try and fit those in a minute, and hopefully they're the correct pitch because they need to be a fine pitch. And I've got the shouldered bolts, so that's perfect. Shouldered nuts, so that's perfect. However, I then made another rookie error. I wanted some short hex bolts for securing the seat, and they only need to be about 20mm long. I thought to myself, I'll order them online. I looked online, I found a supplier that supplied exactly what I wanted, in the length I wanted, no problem. But it was clearly going to be more cost effective for me to buy at least like 10 of them. So I thought to myself, well, I won't buy 10 at 20mm, I'll buy 10 at 40mm or 45mm, cut some down, keep some others for future use, because there's more likelihood to use longer bolts in the future. And then what arrived were no good to me because they are shouldered. And I thought to myself, well, that's not the image I saw online. No, it's not. But if I looked carefully and actually read the descriptions, it does specifically state that the longer the bolt, the more likelihood of the shoulder. So it actually says something like bolts typically less than 25mm don't have a shoulder, longer than that typically do. So these are no good to me whatsoever for this job. I'll put them in stock, I'm sure I'll use them in the future, and I've had to reorder the bolts I need for here. So that's just my mistake. No big issues, you know, it's just a few quid, but it has created a little delay. Anyway, I'm gonna just park this for the moment because I had a great recommendation to actually try and source a mudguard and then use that to determine where the seat loop needs to go, because the seat loop that I previously measured I can't get. I wanted one that was 15 centimeters wide, and the narrowest I can find anywhere is 18. So again, I've got to make something myself and I don't have the tooling for that, or I need to find an alternative solution. So I'm parking the back of this for the moment. I'm going to try and fit these to the wheel, so I'll lift the wheel off and try and sort that out in a minute. But if you can see behind me, it's actually quite sunny today. So of course I want to ride the bikes, which leads me back to the Superdream. So it's a rare sunny weekend and I'd like to take the Superdream out for a run. And for those of you that have watched me start a couple of years ago, I built this from a box of bolts. You know, it's a running, riding, average condition example of a Superdream now. There's a few things that definitely could still be improved, and if I was going to strip it and do it again, there's definitely things I can do better. However, for now, I just want it usable. And I've persistently had problems with the carburetors. And I started it the other day, and it started reluctantly, ran okay, hesitating on the revs, and it keeps hanging up on its revs. Now, I have stripped these carburetors over and over and over again, and I've cleaned them repeatedly. But I was watching a YouTube channel this week, I think Superbike Surgery, and the guy there, who is clearly an expert, was working on some carburetors, and he made a very interesting comment. He said that somebody had previously balanced the carburetors, tick. Someone had previously cleaned the carburetors, tick. But the bike was running rough and hanging up on its revs, tick. And in his case, it was a blocked air passage. And somebody had balanced the carburetors with a blocked air package, which they had blocked air passage, which they had achieved by like winding it like way off of where it should have been. That achieved a balanced reading, but the fueling was all wrong and the bike wasn't running properly. I'm suspecting that's my issue. So without taking you through the tediousness of stripping it all down and taking it all apart again, off camera, I'm going to strip the bike, get the carbs off, get the carb cleaner out, but this time, and for the first time, I'm going to concentrate on testing the little tiny air passages to check that they are all free. Then I'm going to try rebalancing the carbs, see if that makes any difference. I hope so, because I'd like to take it for a ride. Right, let's crack on. Okay, so it's about 20 minutes later, I've managed to free the carbs up, and here they are. Never ceases to surprise me, even though I've done it so many times, how much effort it actually takes to free up these carbs. Sort of undoing all the back end, pulling all the airbox back, panels, engine brace, battery tray, so many steps. Anyway, it's out now. First observation, I drained the fuel out of the carbs, and it looked quite dark. It was clean, there was no black contamination in it, there was no water in it, but it was quite dark in its colour, like old fuel. But there shouldn't be any old fuel because the tank was relined a few months ago. Interestingly, I took the fuel directly out the tank. It was nowhere near as dark. So I'm wondering whether evaporation had just taken place and it had concentrated the fuel that was in the bottom of the carbs. Not sure. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get these detached, get them stripped down, get some carb cleaner, and we'll have a look at cleaning up the air passages. See if there's anything obvious there. Right, next step. Okay, so carbs stripped down to just bare body. I'm just going to now concentrate on all those little tiny air passages, like in here, and try and make sure that they are all nice and clear. Maybe that's my issue. Okay, so I've just sat about half an hour in the sunshine, just going over these carbs over and over, checking all the air passages, blowing air through every one of them. There was nothing obviously blocked, there's nothing clearly an issue. I've looked at the balancing really carefully whilst I'm here. Now I know I need to balance the carbs on the bike, but what I've been doing is I've been holding them up to the light and looking through the butterflies and making very slight adjustments to both the balancing screw and the tick over, the tick over point. So you can visually see the thinnest crack of light appear on both sides at exactly the same point in adjusting the tick over. So I think they're, I'd call it mechanically balanced. You know, they look like they're both opening at exactly the same point. I think all I need to do now is carefully reassemble it, get it back on the bike, and then see what happens, and adjust the balance if necessary on the bike, which is incredibly difficult if you ever tried doing this on the Superdream, because access to that balance screw round the frame is close to impossible. However, I am 100% clear that there's no blockages in these carbs at the moment, so let's put them back together. Okay, that's carefully everything reassembled, and the float height set to 15.5mm on both sides. I've tested it with blowing air and moving this minutely just up and down until I can hear at the point that the fuel valve opens and closes. So I think it's ready for the base to go back on, and then put it back in the bike. Okay, back end's loosely put together, auxiliary fuel tank. I've just filled it with fuel, let me just do that. Okay, fuel tap is on. Give that a minute, just check it doesn't flood out. No. Okay. Well, ignition, a bit warm. There we go. Ignition on. Fingers crossed. Come on, baby. Okay, good start. Promising. No choke. Right, leave it alone for a while, let it get warm. Okay. Well, that's been about 10 minutes now, and it's definitely the most stable tick over this bike's ever had. So I mean, that's good. Still feel there's a slight hesitation, but it's not hanging. Much better than it was. Right, I'm going to try and get the balancing hit on it, see what that shows. Right, let's check this out. So the right hand is on 11, left hand is on 9. Needs a little bit of adjustment. The right hand is pulling more than the left. Okay, so I've managed to get a long screwdriver through a little gap in the frame, and that's now on the balancer. Balance adjustment. So let's try that. Further out the balance. balancing's as close as I'm going to get it, but with these connected I don't seem to be able to get the tick over. So I'm going to lock that off, take these pipes off and then test it again. Okay, I found out why it wasn't happy ticking over. It's because I'd forgotten to turn the fuel back on. So as the fuel was getting low, it was messing with the mixtures. That's fine. The carbs are now balanced, the readings were the same. So now, and it's ticking over. Okay. I think time to put the rest of it together. Give it a try. Definitely feels more responsive, definitely ticking over better. Good. Good, 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 good. Right, get my gear on. Go and give her a ride. Now the one thing we do know with this GoPro is once I'm riding, you will hear nothing other than wind noise. So I have to just give you probably a voiceover afterwards, but I'll take you along for the ride anyway. Was good but not perfect. So I'm back, and that was by far the most successful ride of the bike so far. It just felt more positive, more responsive. Still feels like there's more it should give, but maybe I'm asking too much from an old 250. When I got back and it was hot, it wasn't keen on ticking over, but I gave it a moment, just tweaked the idle, and then it was fine. So I think it was just a minor adjustment. Right, so all in all, I think that was successful. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to tidy up. I think I've got a few things to put away. I'll work on this probably during the week, and you'll see a little update on that next week, I'm suspecting. Thank you very much for all your help and support, your feedback, your encouragement. Really appreciate it. If you can just click that subscribe button, it's completely free. It makes a massive difference to me. If not, just like. Otherwise, thank you very much. All of you, have a safe time. See you next week.